Hello and welcome to our second session in the edit mode. And in this session we are going to explore some of the advanced edit tools available in edit mode. So to begin with, let us come into our default scene and I am going to select this cube. Now press X and I am going to delete it. Press Shift plus A and I am going to now add an icosphere. Before I begin, in the last session I missed out one tool I haven't shown it to you, is the adding the primitive using this tool. So what is the difference between adding the primitive from here and adding the primitive from here? Well, the difference is, say for example I select add cube here, then you can see a plane here, and as I move over the object, this plane is going to change. So the advantage with adding this from here is, say I can just bring my tool here, click and drag, see it created a cube, then I can just drag it to adjust its size. So now the difference we have is that this cube is actually created on this surface. So similar to this, you have cone. Say for example I select cone, and on this plane if I drag it, the first thing I am going to get is the bottom radius, then I can drag to set its the depth, and the top radius is set to 0. I can come over here in the create parameters and I can make the modifications here, and the only thing is now you can see this is attached to this plane. And similarly here, if I select a cylinder and bring over somewhere here, and if I drag it, if I press shift, I get a perfect circle, then I can just drag it and the cylinder is created on this plane. So like this, similarly I can add a UV sphere, and this UV sphere now I will press shift and drag it so that it is in the correct position. Again I will press shift, and you can now see this UV sphere is on this plane. So like this, I can also add an icosphere. I can bring it here, drag it with shift press, drag it, and you can see this is created over this plane. I will come back to file, new general, and I will not save this. I will come into the default view, I will press tab, see I came into the edit mode. As soon as I come into the edit mode, so below this add tool, you see a series of tools available in edit mode, and the very first tool we have is the extrude tool. Say for example I am in the vertex mode, I will press A and select all the vertices, and if I press extrude, the keyboard shortcut is E. So if I just press E and drag it, you can now see a new cube is created. I can just drag it and leave it. If I press tab, see now a new cube is created. I will press tab again, and this time I will select any one vertex, and if I press E, see what happens. E is nothing but extrude. Either I can use the extrude tool here, or if any other tool is selected, press E and drag it. So now what is happening in extrude is, whenever you select an object, the object not only gets duplicated, but it is also linked. So you get a linked duplicate when you press E. Say for example I select 1, 2 vertices here, and I am going to select the extrude tool here, and if I drag it, you can see this has got extruded. Now one thing you have to remember is, when you are doing this extrude, the angle at which it gets extruded by default is what we call as the normal. So to understand this, say in the edit mode I will come into this mesh edit mode and I will enable this normals for vertices. So now you can see a small line, blue line appearing here. So this blue line that you are seeing is what we call as normal. So now if I select this, if I am in the extrude mode, you can see now when I drag it, it gets extruded in the direction of the normal. So now, as of now, we are extruding the vertices. Similarly, if I select the edge, if I make an edge selection and if I extrude it, see now you got a new face because this entire edge has got extruded. So this we can use extrude either for vertex or for edge or even for face. So in case of face, I can select this face and now if I drag it, you can see how this is getting extruded. So this is the very first tool that we are exploring over here. So when you come to this extrude when I click and hold, you have various options available over here. So to understand this, say for example, I have extruded this object and I will select this, I will in the extrude mode, I will extrude it one more time, and if I extrude it back now, you can now see this is creating some unwanted faces here. Say I didn't want these points to appear, I doesn't want this to go inside. In that case, I can press edit undo and I can come into the option here called Extrude Manifold. And in case of Extrude Manifold, what happens is, if I drag it, you can now see those extra faces are not getting created. And this mode we call it as the Extrude Manifold mode. Now similar to this, you have another mode called as Extrude Along Normals. So now what happens is, normally when I extrude any face, if I extrude, see it gets extrude along the direction of the normal. I will come into file, new general, I will not save this, I will select this file, press X and delete it with shift A. Now I am going to add an icosphere. Now in this icosphere, I will press tab and come into edit mode. I will come into face selection by pressing 3 on the keyboard and I am going to select 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 faces, and with 5 faces selected, if I press E and extrude it, you can now see this is a normal extrusion. However, if I similarly select another 5 faces here and this time I am going to use Extrude Along Normals. So when I select Extrude Along Normals and extrude it, see you have almost the same kind of extrude. However, you can see here that these lines are straight. However, in case of Extrude Along Normals, you can see how this face size is increasing as it gets extruded. So this is the difference between normal extrusion and Extrude Along Normal. I will select 5 more faces here and this time I am going to choose the option Extrude Individual. And when I select Extrude Individual and then I drag it, you can now see each face is getting extruded in its own normal. See, this is normal extrusion, actually extrude along normals, and this is extrude along individual. I will come into select mode, select any face, and here now I will come into extrude to cursor, and now I will middle mouse click, turn it to show it how it works. If I click here, wherever I am going to click, an extrusion is added. See, wherever I am clicking, you are getting an extrusion. So this is the last option you have. I will select any face here, and now with the face selected, if I press E, you are going to get extrude, and at the bottom you can see various options available. If I press X, it will drag along the X axis. If I press Y, it drags along the Y axis. If I press Z, see, it drags along the Z axis. So to implement what we have learned, I will come to File, New, General. I will click Don't Save, and now I will select this, press X and delete it. I am going to press Shift A and I am going to add a plane. I will press Tab and enter into the edit mode. The very first mode I will use is the extrude region, or I will press E and I am going to extrude it. See, you can see the extrusion happening. If I press X, it extrudes in X. If I press Y, it extrudes in Y. I press Z, I move it, and in this last action setting, I will extrude it by around 0.3 units. So I have just created an extrusion. Now the second type of extrusion I have here is the extrusion manifold. So for manifold, say for example, I select this face and I want to move it back. So if I just move it back simply, you can see this is creating a hole. However, if I select this and come into extrude manifold and if I move it, you can now see that the extrusion is happening and the added vertices are deleted. See, I can move it like this. So this is extrude manifold. Then the next option is extrude along normal. Say for example, I select this and this face, and now if I simply extrude it by pressing E, see how it is getting extruded. I doesn't want this to extrude like this. I want to go it straight. Then I will right click and cancel it. I will come into extrude along normals, and if I drag it, see now you can see that it is getting extruded. So in extrude manifold, see the edges, so you can see the edges are becoming are of this shape. I will press Ctrl Z. I will come into extrude along normals, and if I drag it, you can now see these lines are straight. And if I choose extrude individual, see now what happens is if I drag and extrude it, see individually each plane is getting extruded in its own axis. And finally you have extrude to cursor. So I can select a face here, press 1 and come into the front view. I will come into extrude to cursor. With this face selected, I will rotate it and just going to click like this, and wherever I am clicking, it is going to get extruded, and I will press tab. So we have created some kind of face like this. So this is all about extrusion. After we have explored the extrusion tool, in our next session we are going to work on the next tool, that is the inset tool.